Welcome back to the fourth part of my video series around the ITIL Foundation. I hope you are enjoying these videos. In this video I'm going to talk about the four dimensions of service management. When I started creating this video series, it was my intention to help everyone on their ITIL Foundation certification path. In hindsight, I actually want to reach a bigger audience, also help everyone to get a better understanding on the ITIL framework. Hi, I'm Wieger, ITIL Master and ITIL Ambassador. As promised in the introduction video, I would share per video which areas of the syllabus I'm going to talk about. In this video, I'm going to talk about the four dimensions being organizations and people, information and technology, partners and suppliers, value streams and processes. For the exam, you need to understand the four dimensions of service management. As I said earlier in my videos, this is not a training, just an addition to the learning path you are on to help you succeed on your ITIL 4 Foundation certification journey. These videos are too short to cover everything you need to know. It is an addition or a refresher of the things you need to know. Let's move on to the next slide and talk more about these topics. The four dimensions of service management are extremely important to be successful in everything we do. The process we manage needs to look at all the four dimensions to be successful and sustainable to the future. Or to say it in other words, are relevant to the whole service value system. What you probably will notice at this slide is the red box, value in the middle. Value. Value co-creation is what it's all about, the value we deliver for the stakeholders and our customers. The four dimensions are organization and people, information and technology, partners and suppliers, value streams and processes. All these dimensions are externally being influenced by political, economical, technical, social, legal, and environmental factors, or just short, the PESTEL factors. To give an example of the four dimensions with respect to the incident management processes we probably all are aware of. People in organization. Do we have the right skilled people on the job? Partners and suppliers. Do we have the right support in place with our partners and suppliers? Information and technology. Do we have the proper knowledge management and incident management systems in place? The right applications to manage our deliveries and service assurance practices? Value streams and processes. Do we have the right processes in place? Or the value streams well defined? I've not spoken about value streams before, something I'm going to talk about in one of the other videos, but just to give a quick definition of value streams, the sequence of activities required to deliver a product, service, or experience to a customer, whether internal or external. The term value stream originates from the lean manufacturing process, which has a high focus on reducing waste in our practices and processes. Dimensions represent perspectives which are relevant to the whole service value system, including the entirety of the service value chain and all ITIL practices. As some of you might have seen, Excellus is integrated into PeopleCert website. All practices and information previously being available via Excellus can now be found on the PeopleCert website. This transition took place earlier this year. Now click you on one of the practices via the PeopleCert website. To bring it into practice is probably a big word, but just a feel on how the practices have been built up. They're not always easy to read for the first time, but pretty handy. The ITIL framework and its practices help me with projects to deliver them successfully. I wouldn't have been able to do it differently. Let's take a look at incident management. Here we go. As I previously mentioned, as you can see here, the references to the four dimensions in incident management practice. This is not just for incident management. You will see this across all the 34 practices consistently. The incident management practice is one of the 15 practices which have had a refresh last year, linked to the introduction of the practice manager path. Practice maturity was always around for the ITIL framework. What, however, is new due to the refresh is the option for a self-assessment. As you can read more about that in Chapter 7, Capability Assessment and Development. That, however, was not a goal for what I wanted to show you. As I already said, the 4 dimensions are integrated in the practices. Let us take a look at partners and suppliers. Here you can see part of the practice and how we need to consider the partners and supplier dimension for incident management. I'm not going into real detail here, but just quickly to show you how the dimensions have been described in the practices. Now back to the dimensions and talk about them a bit more in detail. The first dimension I'm going to talk about is organization and people. If you look at organization and people, it's all about us as humans who make it all happen. The way how we work, the company culture, and in some cases the departmental and division culture. How do we make it all functioning or work together, create the value for our customers, shareholders, and so on. Everyone has a role to play, fits in the way how we make it organize the work and create the organizational structure in the company. Although on that last note, there are some exceptional companies where the policy is everyone is equal in driving the company success. There is no CEO. Everyone has the same rights or is the CEO. I have never come across such a company which applies this principle. If someone watching this video knows an example, please share it with me, other obviously than 1 or 2 persons companies. Just having the right hierarchy in an organization does not make an organization successful. It needs to have the right people with the proper skills, culture, and to achieve its objectives. People are a key element in this dimension. As the organization evolves, the people will need to evolve with it to keep the right skills, attitudes, and behaviors within the organization. Organizations keep on growing, changing. What looked complicated 5 years ago and took weeks to complete, we probably do today in a day or less, as an example from my personal experiences. Everyone in the organization needs to understand their role in delivering value for, but also how to facilitate company in achieving its vision with cascaded objectives from the top down to the operational levels in the organization. Having a shared vision on what needs to be delivered will assist in breaking down organizational silos. As you can see in this slide, dimension, organization and people covers roles and responsibilities, skills required, culture and organizational structures. The second dimension of service management I'm going to talk about is information and technology. Similar to the other dimensions, information and technology is applicable to service management, but also on the services it manages. This includes, but is not limited to, the technologies which service management support. For instance, knowledge management, inventory systems, communication systems, and analytic tools. The information architecture will have to be evaluated continuously, keeping in mind the reliability, accessibility, accuracy, and relevance of the information provided to users, and also the exchange of information between services. Service management is more and more supported by artificial intelligence and other cognitive tools. In some cases, this is, however, not possible due to regulatory requirements and applicable security policies. The challenge of information management, such as security and regulatory compliance requirements, for example, the GDPR in the European Union and the California Consumer Privacy Act in the United States, are also a focus of this dimension. For many services, information management is the way how value is co-created between service providers and service consumers. This is something which will be happening more and more when service providers are using cloud services from other parties like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and so on. Services being used to deliver service to service provider customers. As I did show earlier in this video, detailed information about the dimensions of service management can be found in all the practices. Most services nowadays are based on IT and are heavily dependent on it. When considering a technology for use in the planning, design, transition, or operation of a product or service, questions an organization may ask include what I show here on this slide, obviously not limited to this. Do we have any regulatory, internal policies, security control channels? Can we continue using the service in the long term, or will it be sunsetting next year? The risk of embracing new technologies similar to the risk of holding on to the old technologies. Is it in line with our strategy? Will it help us reach the company vision? Can we maintain and manage the new technology? Do we have the right skills? Can we apply automation? Can we manage it efficiently? Does the technology offer additional capabilities that might be leveraged for other products and services? What are the risks or constraints of the technology? By looking at these questions, do not look at them from just the information technology dimension. All dimensions should be considered. Some companies will be very keen in adopting new technologies, where others will stick to the already proven technologies. Mostly this is embedded within the company culture. The third dimension of service management is partners and suppliers. No company delivers all services on its own. It does use services and products from other companies to create and deliver its services and products for their consumers. They do make use of several other partners and suppliers. To give you just a simple example, most companies nowadays are moving their services into the cloud or considering moving their services into the cloud, using other suppliers to deliver their services to their customers. Part of the partner and supplier dimension is also the sourcing strategy, which has the task of making sure the company obtains the right products and services to run the company. However, there is more to this dimension. It's also looking at resources. Do we want to do certain tasks in-house, manage the partners and suppliers, and include them in continual improvement initiatives? At some point, even include them in value stream mapping to make the practices as efficient as possible. Factors which influence the partner and supplier dimension. Strategic focus. Some companies focus only on their competencies, supporting activities or sourced via partners and suppliers, for example. Culture. Some companies have a historic methodology and the way they do things. Changing this is not easy. Skills or lack of skills, which triggers for solving certain activities via partners and suppliers, or insourcing the activities. Costs. Costs are a big influence. Also, what do you see happening with the transition into the cloud, which is a cost transition from capital expenditure to operational expenditure? Knowledge. As a service provider might decide to do certain things with own staff due to intellectual property. External influences like regulatory might limit a service provider. Variations on demand might be flexible due to seasonal influences, where it is easy to make use of partners and suppliers to cope with the demand. This table shows the forms of cooperation that exists and the roles of the various parties. When you go to a store and buy something, for example a mobile phone, you receive the phones from the supplier and the outcomes are down to you. What apps do you use? And so on. You are in charge of the outcome. Goods delivered. When you procure a service from a service provider, have a contract with SLAs in place. Both service provider and service consumer have their own goals. There is no collaboration but cooperation between the parties involved. Partnership. A contract is in place, however the service provider and service consumer are working both towards the same goals. Objective here is the collaboration between the parties involved. Value streams and processes, a favorite topic for me to talk about, certainly when we start talking about value stream mapping. Looking at processes from demand to value end to end. How can we improve them? Stop doing things we should not be doing. Not an easy task, I must admit, but really very useful in continuous improving, delivering value for our customers. What is a value stream? A couple of steps that takes us from demand to value. Or to take the official definition, a value stream is a series of steps that an organization uses to create and deliver products and services to a service consumer. A value stream is a combination of the organization's value chain activities. I'm going to talk about a value chain in another video. The value chain is a generic operating model. The steps in this operating model can be followed in any order. The step taken in the value chain is what we call the value streams, or to say it differently, the value chain can be seen as a set of building blocks that can be combined in any order to create value streams. The value streams and process dimension is concerned with how the various parts of the organization work in an integrated and coordinated way to enable value creation through products and services. The dimension focuses on what activities the organization undertakes and how they are organized, as well as how the organization ensures that it is enabling value creation for all stakeholders efficiently and effectively. Besides value streams, this dimension also covers processes. A process is a set of interrelated or interacting activities that transforms inputs into outputs. Processes define a sequence of activities and their dependencies. When applied to products and services, this dimension helps to answer the following questions. Critical to service design, delivery, and improvement. What is the generic delivery model for the service, and how does the service work? What are the value streams involved in delivering the agreed outputs of the service? Who or what performs the required service actions? Specific answers to these questions will vary depending on the nature and architecture of the service. Processes describe what is done to accomplish an objective, and well-defined processes can improve productivity within and across organizations. They're usually detailed in procedures which outline who is involved in a process and work instructions which explain how they are carried out. A quick quiz. Before I show the multiple choice answers, read the question and think of the answer before reading the options. You got an idea what a possible answer might be? I'll give you a few more seconds for the right answer. The correct answer is value streams and processes. The value streams and process dimension focuses on what activities the organization undertakes and how they are organized, as well as how the organization ensures that it's enabling value creation for all stakeholders efficiently and effectively. We reached the end of this video. If you like this video, please do not hesitate to leave a comment or like the video. I obviously also appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching my video. Please do check out my other videos on ITIL 4.